Since the acquisition, definitely some shifts have been made. One of the biggest differences from a startup is that there are different divisions and groups who are much more specialized. So that's probably been the biggest shift for me personally. And I know for a lot of the Learning Ovations team, we were filling multiple roles. We didn't necessarily have, a design team or a internal communications team. So even some of these little day-to-day pieces that may have been a part of my role or my colleagues' roles is now has a whole department. So that has been a shift, but definitely logically makes sense. And is also then allowed us to move a lot faster in some of those areas. So things like branding and design, obviously, to have a whole department committed to that makes it much easier than me designing a PDF on Google, which is also fine, but different scale. So I'd say things like that are probably kind of the biggest shift overall.
How large was the team when the acquisition was made, and how many of you moved over?
That was a very important part of the original conversation with Scholastic at the acquisition. As I basically said, is that I'm only interested if you're interested in the entire team moving over. And so that was something that I set out as a negotiating point from the very beginning. So we were about 30 people at that point in time. And part of the due diligence process, with Scholastic in the last several months was getting to know each one of those 30 people, that were going to come over to Scholastic. So Scholastic actually brought everybody over when the deal closed. One of the other preconditions that I made was that both my chief financial officer, who wasn't interested in proceeding, I had pulled him out of retirement to work with me. So he wanted to sit under some palm trees at some point in time. And then I also said that I wasn't interested in a long-term position. And the reason for that, Rebecca, was just real experience with having done acquisitions and mergers before, is that you've got to be very careful, at least I felt, that the company that was acquiring A to I had to have a sense of ownership of A to I. And I was very worried that if it was just Jay and his team coming over, we would be lost in one sort of silo or another there at Scholastic, not knowing the history, not knowing all of the different nuances. So I really wanted it very clear to Scholastic is that they were bringing this team over to fit within their team as opposed to kind of keep us isolated. So the way that we organized the sale was not as an earnout, not something that we had to build for them over time, but they were acquiring the team and A to I and the rights to use A to I, as a whole, and they needed to own that success.